It's enough to get me to the boiling point.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Bitcoin still consolidating in this sideways pattern. Now, I do just want to point out super quick that we did come down here and retest this upward sloping trend. You can see right here, that was the exact area that I was saying, because some people thought we were going to, immediately break out to the upside. We did, in fact, touch the downside. But in today's video, I'm actually going to push the TA all the way to the end because I have a lot to go over specifically as far as some of the sentiment is concerned. Obviously, a lot of things have happened with FTX. In fact, just if you guys haven't heard this side note, former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried has retained attorney Mark Cohen. In case you don't know who Mark Cohen is, he's the former prosecutor who recently defended Jeffrey Epstein confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, and drug lord El Chapo, as his insolvent cryptocurrency company faces legal scrutiny. So very interesting. First of all, I thought this guy only had about $100,000 to his name. How is he actually able to afford, this guy who, by the way, doesn't really seem to have that great of a track record, honestly? And in response to Leah Heilpern, you had Baby Boss saying, apparently Jeffrey Epstein's assets got transferred to this guy called Rupert Murdoch. And if you follow the money trail, it ended up in SBF's hands right when FTX got started. Talk about conspiracies. So obviously there are a lot of things that are going on right now. And a lot of people are saying that, all of this stuff that happened with FTX has set back the industry multiple years, right? And I even kind of fed into that at first, believing that. Now, really what we need to pay attention to is what is happening right now. Because if we actually look at some of the data and some of the evidence, actually, contrary to what everybody thinks is actually going on right now, what happened with FTX may have actually helped to push the industry forward. Now, you're probably saying, how is this even possible? Well, this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why there is a potential that everyone could be wrong right now about Bitcoin. Everyone's talking about the macro environment, right? They're talking about this, global economic recession and all these other things, and how we're just going to have, a decade to a decade and a half long bear market. We're never going to see new all-time highs for stocks until I'm like 50 years old. Bitcoin's not going to make a new all-time high anytime soon. But if we actually have a look at what the institutional players and the high net worth individuals are doing right now, I think you would be quite surprised. Of course, you're not seeing it reflected in the charts, but there is a reason for that. So we're going to get into all that today. If that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. And by the way, on a side note, as far as keeping your crypto safe, did you guys check out the new ledger Stax? This looks so freaking awesome, guys. I'm actually going to turn it down right here because it has music. This thing looks really freaking cool. It was apparently designed in part by the guy who did the original iPhone. And yeah, it's just really awesome. It has digital stuff on the side, touch and all this other stuff. So I'm definitely going to get one of these. I don't know about you guys. So if you are interested, you can check out the link. They are available for pre-order right now. And if you get them right now exclusively, you can get a free NFT that comes with it. So it does ship in March. If you guys are interested, I definitely recommend you guys check that out below. Of course, you would be supporting the channel if you use my link. Thank you very much. I love you. Diving in. Let's talk about what's going on, okay? Because let me just really quick, just put it into perspective. Right now, what are we seeing, right? We're not really hearing a lot of people say, usually you say, are you bullish? Are you bearish, right? That's usually the conversation that happens in the crypto space. Right now, it's not, are you bullish or are you bearish? Right now, it seems to be, how low do you think we're going to go? Do you think the bottom is in? Right? So it's almost like there's this universal bearishness across the board. Everybody's bearish. Nobody thinks that Bitcoin is going to move to the upside. Everyone's saying, maybe we're going to bottom out, maybe we're going to go sideways, or worst case scenario, maybe we're going to be going a lot lower, right? So basically, everyone is bearish. Let's be honest. I mean, maybe you're bullish, right? Possibly, I don't know. But let me know in the comments below, are you bullish? Oh, and also turn on the bell notifications because I definitely got shadow banned yesterday. It was total BS. I'm not even going to say what I was talking about in yesterday's video. If you saw it, you saw it. Obviously, YouTube didn't like what I was talking about at certain parts in the video, and my video got shadow banned. So please turn on the bell notifications so you guys get those updates. But anyway, you guys ready for this? Prepare. Here we go. According to crypto exchange Bitstamp, compared to their data in October, institutional registrations within its digital asset trading platform are up 57% in just the month of November as far as that data was concerned. 57%. It's up as far as institutional player. Now, could this be because people freaked out and hopped from FTX over? Possibility. Let's continue. The exchange also told Cointelegraph that its total revenue is up by 45% in the same period, with revenue coming from institutions up 34%. The exchange also highlighted that compared to October, active global retail users in November also increased by 43%, with the US-based users up around 18%. This suggests that even with the FTX situation being a hot topic, more crypto investors were actively trading within the exchange. On December 6th, the financial services firm Goldman Sachs expressed its intent to purchase or invest in crypto companies. So, these smart players, they smell the opportunity when everyone else smells the fear. And it can be very difficult, especially when you're scared, when maybe you lost some money, maybe you had funds on FTX, I don't know, and you're hearing all of this doom and gloom. Let's continue. Now, Willy Woo, he does a lot of on-chain analytics. He says after the FTX blowup, many think it set the industry back many years. But this is contrary to the conversations that I've had. Traditional finance capital allocators are seeing an opportunity to come in now. They see Bitcoin and crypto is here to stay, and it has now been de-risked. So whereas before you had everyone saying that, oh no, this is just turning people away. Look, as far as some of the, regulated, entities, people that hold funds on behalf of their clients, etc. Yes, regulation is probably going to be necessary for those individuals. You can even see down here, you had, Mauro Wolf say none of this is relevant until the issuance and compliance with crypto regulation, which is what everyone is saying, right? Crypto regulation includes consumer protection. Protections for Main Street will improve the industry. I agree. But he says traditional finance in this instance means high net worth individuals or investors, free from regulatory restrictions on the mainstream retail. This is where we are right now for the bulk of traditional finance capital. By the way, obviously a decent chunk of retail is already here. Bitcoin has flipped the status quo. But you have to just keep in mind, what is retail? How much money does retail really truly bring in, right? In fact, somebody over on Reddit recently did, because there is this Bitcoin, you can go check out the richest addresses. You can pretty much see the percentage of all the Bitcoin held in wallets. And as this person broke it down, they basically said that there's about 34 million wallets with $1 or more. There's 1.6 million holding about $10,000 or more in their wallet. So this basically means that 4.6% of the wallets have over $10,000. Think about that number. That means that the majority of the wallets, 95+% of all the Bitcoin wallets out there, which, primarily I would assume, we can assume is mostly retail, right, has less than $10,000 in it. So it's not the retail players that are moving the markets. I mean, maybe if we all, today, everybody, we just had a giant, we all just bought at the same time and then everybody just sold at the same time, then yes, maybe retail could affect the markets. But I mean, Is retail really going to be coordinated like that? I mean, retail, we're talking about, these guys, these high net worths, billions, trillions of dollars from some of these players over in the UAE. And they are seeing the opportunity right now. They smell the fear in the streets. They smell the blood. They know that these are the opportunities and they see Bitcoin's longevity. A lot of people have been coming out saying a lot of negative things about it, right? But look at what it's done. Binance now has a full proof of reserve, 101% collateralized, and this includes both their liabilities as well as their reserves, right? So not only are we seeing, the remaining players sort of clean up in the space, obviously there's some stragglers, we have to see what happens with Genesis. There might be a few other things, but for the most part, we can honestly say that crypto has had its Lehman Brothers moment, right? And if we were going to fall, harder and faster and harder, wouldn't we have kind of done that already? I mean, the question is, unless these guys are being forced to liquidate, who else is really going to sell? Maybe just people who need some money? like they got to pay some bills or something. But as far as these bigger players are concerned, how much deeper can it go? I mean, FTX kind of was the biggest of the contagions. And as we've noticed, every single time on the chart, we're seeing less and less and less of an impact. It's as if the markets are becoming immune to it, or some people saying that the price is in fact not moving, right? We're not moving. Maybe we're not moving because every time we, start to sell, we're getting bought back up. We're building that base. And remember something, a lot of people don't like boring markets, right? Boring markets are actually healthy, especially at times like this, right? It shows that you're building that stability. You don't want to have an instant pump and just go straight up to the moon again, because usually when you have these big bounces, you also have even bigger falls. Now, not to mention the fact that, you can't really trust what you're reading, in the media. And you got guys like Jim Cramer urging investors to exit crypto, saying it's never too late. You have Jim Cramer basically coming out telling you to sell your crypto at 75 to 80% down, right? Why would you sell if you're already down 80%? Obviously, Jim Cramer, there's a joke about, kind of whatever he says, you just do the opposite. But one of the biggest bottom indicators that we've had for quite a long time is this guy, Peter Schiff, right? He says, don't make the mistake of thinking that Bitcoin is forming a floor at 17,000. It's forming the next ceiling. During this bear market, every time Bitcoin takes another leg down, it consolidates, it loses prior to its next leg lower. These landings aren't bottoms, they're trap doors. But we have seen this happen multiple times in Bitcoin's history, right? Before I get to the chart, I actually want to give a shout out over here. This was to Nunya Business. He pointed this. He says, the clown has spoken. And, this guy is just known for basically being a bottom caller. He says right here, back when Bitcoin was sitting around, it was like $3,000 or something. He said, don't make the mistake of thinking that buying Bitcoin below 3,800 is a bargain just because the current price is better than 80% below its record high. Sound familiar? Bitcoin's price could easily drop another 80% from here, and at $750, it would still be expensive. Well, guess what? Bitcoin never fell to $750. In fact, it pumped all the way up to around $14,000 before consolidating again. But Peter Schiff, he jumped in again when we had the COVID crash, the Black Swan event, right? And responding to Kevin Svensson, he said, Bitcoin is getting ready for another 50% drop. Guess what Bitcoin did, guys? It actually fully recovered, and it went all the way up to almost $70,000, right? Now, there are those people that are going to say, of course, we had, the money printing and all that, and I totally get where everyone is coming from, okay? And I'm not saying we're going to have $1 million Bitcoin or a 500,000, 200,000, even $100,000 Bitcoin by tomorrow, but we know how these things work. We know how the Fed works, right? Eventually, at some point, they will not be able to raise rates any higher. They will run rates flat. And as I showed you in yesterday's video, it's not as much about what the rates are, it's about the rate of acceleration. The environment, the economy will adapt to those rates at some point. And yes, of course, we may, have potential layoffs. There might be unemployment at some point, which would then, which is kind of what people are hoping for, which is weird because that's where the Fed would pivot. But ultimately, this is how fiat systems work. They are built on debt. It is necessary. Inflation is a necessary evil. This is how they work, right? So again, the fact that Peter Schiff is saying this is kind of funny. Bitcoin has far more downside risk than 70% after such a decline. Bitcoin will still be way overpriced, so $5,000 will not even be close to the bottom. So is this a bottom signal? Well, I'm not trying to call a bottom, but what I am saying is, if you have a look at the gold chart, okay, there's no denying that gold has held up better than Bitcoin, clearly, right? That's just a fact. We can look at this chart recently. Recently, gold has held up better than Bitcoin. However, a thing that we need to point out is if you actually take into consideration the M2 money supply and how bad inflation has got, basically, we had this all-time high back here for gold in August of 2011. Gold hit that same all-time high again, basically right here, around March. Now, the time between here and here is pretty much 11 years. So for 11 years, you had to hold from the all-time high all the way back down just to get back to the all-time high again for gold. However, keep in mind that during that same time period, we saw like 80% of all the dollars in circulation ever printed, right? So I understand that that's why people are saying, risk assets took off, and I don't disagree with that. But what I am saying is that it took gold 10 years to get back to the exact same price, priced in dollars, not accounting for inflation. Meanwhile, just to point out in perspective here, if we just draw a line, so, we got to go back to January of 2009, right, where is that? Right around here. So this was the inception of Bitcoin. So, just to kind of point it out, since the inception of Bitcoin to where gold is today, gold is up 94%. That's not bad. That's pretty good. So these guys doubled their money, right? If you held gold for the entire time that Bitcoin came out, you almost doubled your money. You're up about 95%, right? Now, having a look at when Bitcoin, and this is from the first time it was recorded, so this was not even counting when Bitcoin came out. This was just when we actually started keeping price, tabs of Bitcoin, on the BLX, which is sitting at around 6 cents. By today, Bitcoin is up, I don't even know what that number is, 29,367,560%. Okay. And I get what you're saying. Well, not everybody got in at the bottom, but the point is that yes, Bitcoin is volatile. Bitcoin is a new asset class, but you are seeing the interest shift very clearly. And we know that sure, gold has kind of been hanging around the same area, but as soon as we do have that Fed pivot, and it will happen, just be patient, guys. I know that nobody wants to wait around a year, but also for everyone that was complaining that they didn't have opportunities to buy Bitcoin, think about the opportunity that you have right now to accumulate at these levels. Even if we do go a little bit lower, who cares? For the next year to 2 years, knowing what Bitcoin does in these money printing environments, which we know inevitably is bound to come. Plus, we also have the halving, and I've just showed you the evidence of people, institutions, high net worth individuals that are looking to allocate capital at these levels, right? And let's not forget, anyone, for example, Peter Schiff and Jim Cramer, Michael Saylor, this is from December 7th, 2013. Lacking a credible sponsor, Bitcoin is in imminent danger of being regulated out of existence. And now this man is essentially the poster child for Bitcoin, right? It's like first they laugh at you, then they fight you, then they join you. You guys know how it goes. Inevitably, everyone always comes around to Bitcoin. And I do notice even every cycle, you see a lot of these guys that are trading meme coins and shit coins and all these other things, and they always end up realizing the power of Bitcoin the next cycle. I was the same way, right? I thought Bitcoin was old, stupid, dinosaur tech. I used to only talk about altcoins when I first started my channel. Very rarely did I ever speak about Bitcoin. And once I went through my first bear market, I really started to truly dive even deeper and understand that Bitcoin's monetary policy is superior to any other form of money on planet Earth. And it's only a matter of time until the world realizes that, right? So some things that we can look at, and I know we've gone over tons of bottom signals. I'm not calling a bottom. I'm just showing you why this is the opportunity that these high net worth individuals are seeing. Like Charles Edwards pointed out, when Bitcoin hit 16.6K, we had the SLRV ribbons finally flipping bullish, and long-term investor flows. A few months ago, we found this simple strategy can outperform Bitcoin buy and hold by a wide margin. So, ultimately, yes, we could go lower, but if you were looking for like the golden zone, the golden pocket of buying Bitcoin, long term, you're talking about holding for 5 years, 10 years, this is the area to be buying. Mags also pointed out that when Bitcoin tends to fall 50% below the base, it often marks the bottom of that move, right? So once again, not trying to call the bottom, saying that this is the bottom, right? I'm not really interested in trying to call the bottom anymore. I don't really think it matters. I think it's more of just the accumulation zone. Is this the time to buy? In my opinion, yes, but I'm just a guy on the internet. But a lot of the data points to that. You also have a crypto professor pointing out to the 2-week cross in MACD, which has happened. And every time it happens in the history of Bitcoin, there was, in fact, a big rally afterwards. But not only that, in the bear markets of 2015 and 2018, the cross also signaled the bottom and start of the next bull run for Bitcoin. So understand, though, that just because we may be bottoming or forming a bottom or whatever you want to call it, solid. It doesn't mean you can't go a little bit lower, and it also most certainly doesn't mean that you're about to go up immediately, right? Most of these bear markets, once you do have that bottom, you still have 6 to 8 months. In fact, if we even go all the way back to the bear market, back here in right here in 2015 to basically 2015, this lasted almost the whole year. I mean, if you look at this right here, this was roughly not the whole year, but it was about 273 days. So it was almost an entire year right here of just sideways. So would you be able to handle that? Most people would get bored. Most retail would get bored. They would leave. And this is where the institutions would swoop in, and this is where they would be buying up those cheap Bitcoin, right? So also just talking about, what we were saying here, by the way, guys, I was expecting, some people said this was a perfect consolidation. We were going to bounce to the upside. I actually thought that it was more likely that we retested the bottom in yesterday's video, and you could see boom, 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 3 points of contact. So that is the area that we were looking at with our target still at around 17,540. I would lose confidence if we were to fall below 16,200, which is this support right here. And, you could see that there are some very weak levels, up in here. So, obviously we might hit, there could be a little bit of resistance if we do make our way up, 18,200 retest. You could re-enter the long, take profits there. Again, you have another level at around 18,603. That would be another retest, with the maximum level that I'm looking for is around 18,940. It might even make it all the way above 19,000. Who knows? We may have a wick above it, but that is still my target. I would be quite surprised if we just had an instant breakdown from this area. It's possible. Anything could happen, like I said, but regardless, even if we did break down, then the only thing that would happen is just this short-term uptrend, but we would still, let me just get out the, let me get out the zone. We would still just be right in here. We would still just be trading in this zone between 15.7 and 18, right? So we would still technically be just putting in that sideways consolidation. Either way, guys, I would think that it would shock most people if we did just continue to move to the upside. And, we've been slowly kind of creeping. We haven't really had that major pump to the upside. We've been slowly creeping. And you could see right here that we are still in this falling wedge pattern. We haven't, in order to break out of this pattern, we would basically have to fall below 13.4. And the reason that I don't think that's going to happen is because we had all of that monthly support. Remember, if I actually switch this to the monthly real quick, remember that support that we had right here, guys? Let me put the line in for you so you guys can see again. Right here, this monthly support, that is a super important critical level for Bitcoin. We have 1, 2, 3, kind of a little bit of 4, and 5, 6 interactions with that point. So I really would be very highly surprised if Bitcoin was to fall lower than around 13,600 to 13,800. And, from that level, that would only be about a 20% fall from where we're at right now. And you might be saying, oh, another 20%. Yeah, but I mean, when you're going from top to bottom, you're talking falling 75% to falling 80%. It's only a difference of 5% from top to bottom. It seems like a big deal when you're looking at the lower numbers, but from where we've fallen, it's not that much far to go, and that would put Bitcoin right back to where it was. So, could we still have that wick down to 13,800? Yes, I think it's absolutely possible, but I still do think that we are closer to forming the end of not the end of the bear, but the end of the worst of the bear, moving into the boring consolidation period, starting to build that base. And, as we do get this, FOMC coming out December 14th, which is my birthday, by the way. So I hope I get a good birthday present. I hope the Fed doesn't ruin my day by crashing Bitcoin. But ultimately, I think right now, we may be in the boring time. We may be in the time that, most people don't want to sit here and go through it, and it's fine. I mean, you could walk away, you could turn off the TV. You don't have to watch these YouTube videos, but at the same time, I wouldn't walk away from the space. I think that would be very irresponsible at this point. So if you guys are looking to trade, do take advantage of this extra bonus that BitGet has going on this week. They do have an extra $10,000 on top of the $8,000. So at this point, you can get $56,000 in bonuses. If you guys are interested, check that out. And of course, side note, the DXY is still falling. So all of that is basically what I wanted to talk about today. Make sure you guys turn on the bell notification. This video definitely got shadow banned yesterday. You could just tell it just dropped right off. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because what we talked about in the video yesterday. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Make sure you check out all the links below in the description. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all the other stuff, TikTok and all that. So thank you for coming back. You guys rock. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.